about my book, Adoption, is I have to go back to something that you just said about how God gives you the talent. And everything about my book was God-given. I was in the process of adopting a child, and he moved home with us, and I was looking for a book just to tell our adoption story or tell a adoption story. What I was again and again faced with was every time I went to Barnes & Noble or did a search on Google or whatever, I kept finding books about kids that were adopted overseas. Well, I drove to Chelsea to get my book, but every book that I found said, page 1, we got on a plane. Well, I didn't get on a plane, so that wasn't my story.
Okay, all right.
And so, in addition to that, I couldn't find any books about children of color. So I wanted a book about a child of color. I wanted a book about a boy. There were no books that fit my need. So that's what drove me to write it. Even though time and time again I was like, okay, Lord, you can't possibly mean for me to write it. But clearly it just kept, you have to write it.
That was your destiny.
It was totally my destiny.
Yes.
It was also not for me to put it in the hands of someone else, for me to tell my story and have them write it. It was very clear that it was heaven sent for me to write our story and put it out there on my own. That was very clear. So I just want to tell a little bit about my book. I say our book because it's the book of my family and how we came together.
Yes.
But it starts with a boy named Michael. He's in front of his kindergarten class or preschool class. And everybody who's been to preschool, who's been to kindergarten knows you always have circle time. So he is sharing at circle time about a unit on family. And he poses the question, do you know what adoption is? And the book takes off from there. And he just continues to tell what exactly adoption is to him. He's telling his story. And he talks about family visits for... he talks about social workers. He talks about how you have a potential family visit. So, and then he gives the definition that what potential means for younger children. Then it's, adoption is moving day, and you move home. Adoption is he talks about himself. He says, me and my family went to a place called the courthouse, and there was a man that sat at a big, big, big desk. And so he tells about his adoption day.
Experience.
Yes. He talks about how for him, adoption is a daddy and a mommy. Adoption is grandparents. Adoption is aunts, uncles, and cousins. And it's a special place just for him, he says. Adoption is lots of love. Adoption for him is also a church family to love him too. So that's what our story was. That's the coming together of my family.
Yes.
And we put it in print, and it's out there. And it's just a wonderful story to be shared in classrooms, in churches, with family members, anywhere you have a group of children. Because all of us, I know many people who have been adopted, who have foster children. I mean, if you sit down and talk to any group of people, 2 or 3 people coming together, there's always an adoption or foster care situation that somebody has a story to tell.
And Dana, that was an awesome, awesome book. And it's just the way that God inspires us to do what we have been called to do. And we have to answer that calling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you said, there wasn't any books out there about adoptions. And there wasn't any of color either.
No.
And so you had to fulfill that need. And that need took you to an experience that I want you to talk to us a little bit about.
Yes,
because
really
I know it is a hard road in order to get your book published. And that's why we're here today, is to find out how does one get published. And so give me, what did you do to become published?
Well, again, I self-published.
Okay.
My main reason, again, for self-publishing is because I wanted it to be the words and the pictures that I chose.
Okay.
So often when you turn your ideas
Manuscript.
over to others to publish, they change things.
Of course.
And I wanted it to be exactly how God delivered it to me, is what I wanted to put out there.
Okay, okay. And what are the disadvantages of self-publishing? Are there any?
The disadvantages, number one, is it is you. You're pounding the pavement. You're out there doing the footwork to get your product around.
Right.
And you do have cases of books in the attic that kind you dust off from time to time. But yes, there are cases of books that sit around because you don't have the warehouse. And you don't have the marketing, and you don't have all those other people that are working behind the scenes pushing your product.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because I know that with a standard contract, you may get like Amazon. They will go and do the Amazon for you, and they'll do the Barnes and Nobles, and they'll go and do the marketing strategy for you, where you don't have to actually go out and pound the pavement per se. Yeah, but you said something about the benefits. Can you list about 3 benefits for self-publishing?
Number one being it's my words. It's exactly how I wanted it. I took it around to other people to edit, but I had all the control. I had all the control about what the pictures would look like. I had all the control about how the cover would be laid out. Wherever you have the control.
Okay.
And
that's very important. Okay.
It's very important.
Okay. Okay. And would you recommend self-publishing?
I would recommend self-publishing. Absolutely. Absolutely. For those people who want that control, who or who don't want to, often when other people get involved, then they have their hand in the money jar too.
Of course,
so,
of course.
And
of
so
course,
they're,
of
for
course.
everything they do, the artist, the layout, the print, all of that, you're then paying somebody else to do that. I'm not putting that down by any means, but you lose control when other people have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so there is a difference between self-publishing, and then they have the vanity press, and then they also have the conventional way of going to like a major publisher and having them publish your work for you. What you were talking about is the contract and so forth, which our guests will be talking about later on. But thank you very much. We appreciate that. That was great. All right. One more question before I leave you, though. Do you have another story and you miss?
I have 3 other stories that are still, they're not out yet.
Okay.
But they're coming.
All right. Well, we're going to be looking forward to hearing from you real soon.
Okay.